Times NBA stars were sued by the NBA. Rules may have been made to be broken, but in the NBA, there could be serious repercussions if you break the wrong ones. In some of the most serious cases, the NBA has chosen to suspend the player. When it comes to star players, though, the NBA will avoid a suspension except when public pressure demands a suspension. So, how do they punish stars who break the rules? Answer: with fines. Star players can certainly afford to pay a fine, but that doesn't mean they like throwing money away, so it is a good deterrent. Most fines aren't very big and go by with little attention paid by anyone. In this video, we'll tell the story behind some of the biggest fines in NBA history. These are the times a star player did something bad enough the NBA hit them hard in the pocketbook. Before we get to the list, please remember to subscribe, comment, and like our channel and this video. We send our thanks in advance. Hidden hand trick not appreciated. Latrell Sprewell may be known mostly for his intense anger, but at one time, he was a tremendous player in the NBA. He was an all-star 4 times in his career, who averaged more than 24 points per game in the 1996-1997 season. Yes, he did choke his coach when the two had an argument leading to a long suspension, but this story isn't about that altercation. This story comes from Sprewell's time with the New York Knicks, a couple years after that career-best season. Sprewell showed up for the start of the season but wasn't able to play. The reason was he had fractured his hand during the off-season. Injuries happen, but the issue is he hid the fractured hand from the team and provided no real reason for how he broke it. It is likely he was doing something dangerous that his contract didn't allow. This is why the Knicks punished him so severely. For not reporting the injury when it happened, Sprewell was fined by the Knicks $250,000. This is back when players significantly got paid less than today's players. You don't want all that smoke. This one may be a bit dated as marijuana does not have the same stigma it did just a decade ago. In fact, the league announced it would not test players for the drug in the bubble. There is talk that they could stop testing permanently. Back in 2003, however, it was still a very big deal to get caught with it in your system and especially in your possession. One player simply couldn't give it up. This led to the league taking a very strong action to try and correct the aggrieving player. Damon Stoudemire might be the best player to never make an all-star team. Simply put, he should have. He won the Rookie of the Year award when he averaged 19 points and 9 assists. He then upped his scoring output to just over 20 per game the following season. Midway through his career, however, he ran afoul with the league and the police. In 2003, Stoudemire got caught with marijuana in his possession. It wasn't the first time nor the second time. Stoudemire got caught for the 3rd time. It wasn't some simple traffic stop either. Nope. Stoudemire was dense enough to try and sneak marijuana onto a plane at the Los Angeles airport. He got popped for having 1.5 ounces hidden inside of some tinfoil. Considering the previous transgressions and the massive amount of media attention getting arrested at the airport gets, Stoudemire was immediately suspended by the Portland Trail Blazers and fined him $250,000. Stoudemire would return from his lengthy suspension and play 5 more seasons in the NBA, so at least he sort of tamed his demons. The shoes matter. This has to be the most infamous fining of a player. It created a brand, made fortunes for many, and helped start the legend of the biggest star the league has ever had. Michael Jordan was still new to the league in 1985, and not yet a legend nor the greatest player in the league. He was certainly on the rise, but controversy and attention that would be given to the shoes he wore would help make him the league's most recognizable star. Jordan had signed an endorsement deal with a relatively unknown sneaker company called Nike. Jordan and this controversy is the reason they blew up and became a major shoe company. Now they are the biggest shoe company in the world. Nike had designed the first ever signature shoe for Jordan. This wasn't a common thing back then. Players didn't have signature shoes. It was a gamble, and one that was costly in the beginning. The problem is, they ran afoul of the league's 51% rule. The rule stated the shoes worn during the games must be at least 51% white and be of the team's color scheme. The first Jordan shoes were black and red. This led to the league fining Jordan $5,000 each and every game he wore them. This wasn't a small amount back then. Jordan had an NBA salary of $550,000 his first season. That comes out to under $7,000 per game. Luckily, Nike has admitted to paying the fine every game. The fines were big news, however, which may have been Nike's plan all along. They could have designed a shoe to meet the league's parameters. Not doing so made Jordan stand out, forced the NBA to fine him, and brought the shoes all kinds of attention. When they launched in the middle of the season, they quickly flew off the shelves. The first Jordan sold more than $100 million worth in their first year. Remember, this is the 1980s. That's nearly $250 million in today's money. The Jordan shoes have remained the most popular shoe every single edition that is released. Nike became a massive global company, and Jordan himself became a billionaire who now owns an NBA team. That seems to be well worth a $5,000 fine for one season. That's one expensive beer. Okay, this one isn't technically a fine, but it was a suspension without pay. It might as well be the same thing. Normally, suspensions don't come with lost wages. This one did, and the amount lost in salaries may never be matched. Ever heard of the Malice at the Palace? Even non-NBA fans know about this fight. The Indiana Pacers were playing the Detroit Pistons when the teams got into a fight in the final minute of the game. Things really took a turn when Meta World Peace, then known as Ron Artest, was hit by a beer thrown by a fan from the stands. Despite his name, World Peace launched into the stands after the culprit. A fight broke out between the Pacers and the fans. 3 Pacers went into the stands. Fans came onto the court after them. One fan laid out on the court by the Pacers' Jermaine O'Neal. It was truly a madhouse and was a scene that is all but assured to never happen again. The NBA changed the rules because of this, including rules for when beer sales have to stop. For taking part in the fighting, many players were given harsh punishments. World Peace was suspended for the remainder of the season. O'Neal and other Pacers players were also suspended for a varying amount of games. Even a handful of Pistons were suspended too. All suspensions came with no pay. This meant the total amount of money lost by the players was millions. How much exactly? World Peace missed 73 regular season games and 13 playoff games. It cost him just shy of $5 million. Stephen Jackson was suspended 30 games, costing him $1.7 million. O'Neal, due to his max salary, lost more than $4 million in the 15 games he had to sit out. All told, the suspensions added up to 144 games, which equaled more than $11.5 million in lost salary. Ouch. Thou shalt not snowboard. You may be tempted to laugh at the absurdity of this one, but it is surely not a laughing matter for the player involved. Vladimir Radmanovich is not a household name, not a star, so technically he doesn't belong in this list, but we were compelled to include him because of what he was fined for. The Bosnian-born Radmanovich was a useful role player for more than a decade in the 2000s. He averaged double figures in multiple seasons and even made the all-rookie team in his first year. What he will be remembered for was the fine the Los Angeles Lakers gave him in 2007. Radmanovich injured his shoulder and was going to miss some time while it healed. How did he injure it? By snowboarding. It was an activity that wasn't allowed in his contract. This opened the door to the Lakers to punish him as they saw fit. While they could have voided his contract if they chose, they still wanted him to play once he has healed, so instead, they fined him $500,000. That is one expensive trip down the mountain. Certainly adds insult to injury. Don't feel too bad for Radmanovich though. He made more than $14 million in his career, so he should still be living the good life. The odd and funny. We'll wrap with a few of the oddest or funniest fines that have happened in the NBA. The fines may not be the biggest or have the juiciest backstory, but the reasons for the fines deserve inclusion. We begin with a fine that is very dated and screams of old men yelling, "Get off my lawn!" to players. In 1997, the NBA began fining players for, get this, wearing shorts that were not short enough. That's right, players got a $5,000 fine if their shorts went more than an inch below their knee. What's more, the teams got a $25,000 fine for allowing the player to wear the shorts. Next, we jump to 2004. The Dallas Mavericks are owned by Mark Cuban. The list of fines Cuban has amassed is the longest of anyone. This one may take the cake though. The Mavs made a cartoon video poking fun at some of their opponents, including some insinuations of illegal things that they may have done in college. The league was not amused by the video that was shown to fans on the big screen at the arena. They fined the team $25,000. Speaking of the Mavs, our next fine has to do with their player Delonte West. The player was known for trying to get into his opponent's head with mental games. While with the Mavs, he apparently took it too far. He was fined $25,000 for giving his opponent a wet willy. This actually happened on the court during a game. And that's why we love the NBA so much.